Do you like spooky tales? Well, this isn't really much of a spooky tale at all, really. I mean, it's pretty good if we were compare it to like a ninth grade, like English class essay or something. It's an okay story, is what I'm saying. It's nothing like Stephen King would write. It'll be it's a passable story that I did for a contest. Anyways, here goes me and my terrible voice acting. It was Halloween night. 4 friends were out trick-or-treating, their bags filled with so many colorful treats, they could hardly lift them. They were all ready to go back to their homes when one of them gave a quick suggestion. "Hey, I heard there's a house at the end of the street, past the park, that gives out soda cans," he said, with much enthusiasm. "If we make a beeline straight towards it, we can make it back there and back home before 11. The others thought about it for a second, then gave him a worried look. Then one of them spoke. "You know what they say about the woods surrounding the park on Halloween night, right? A kid goes missing there every year, never to be seen again," she said. The one who gave the suggestion to go to the house gave a look of agreement for a second. They quickly switched faces and said, "Well, here's the difference between us and those who went missing. We're a group, right? Safety in numbers." Before anyone could counter his argument, he took off down the street, letting the others chase after him. After letting everyone catch up, the 4 of them started walking down the street towards the house, 3/4 of them just accepting the fact they were doing this at this point. They began walking past a more densely wooded area of the park. Strange noises kept coming from the shrub line, scaring one of them. Don't worry about it so much," another one of the friends said. "It's most likely a squirrel or something looking for a midnight snack." They walked a little bit more down the road, and the noises they were hearing kept getting louder with every step they took. "Alright, that's enough of that," one of them proclaimed. "We're going to the other side of the road where it's not so wooded and creepy." So they crossed the road, started walking on the other side, away from the forest. But the noises didn't stop. They kept hearing what sounded like footsteps, walking closer and closer behind them, becoming more human sounding with each second until they could feel it trailing right behind every one of them. Somehow, all in unison, they turned around to check behind them to see who was following them. No one. So they continued walking, only to notice they were on the park side of the road again when they turned around. "Wait, what happened?" one of them asked. "I don't know, and I don't care," said another. "As long as we can get these stupid soda cans and be over with this, it's fine." Suddenly, a giant black, goopy-looking mass fell from one of the overhanging trees right in front of them, sending a wave of shock through the crowd. The mass started to rise up like an inflating, inky black bouncy house. The shapeless mass sprouted 2 eyes, red as blood, a pristine white smile larger than what can be possibly normal. Within a couple of seconds, the mass started to take a humanoid shape. The figure stood there, looking normal from the feet up, with big black boots, baggy, obviously worn jeans, and a big brown and faded leather coat. However, the eyes and mouth looked like they were part of a mask, yet somehow the 4 of them knew it wasn't simply just a mask. All 4 of them wanted to run. However, a force other than shock that ran through them was holding them in place. The figure now facing them started to speak. "Good morning, sunshines!" It spoke with a discernible, happy tone. "My name is Mask. What's yours?" None of them replied back. The figure lunged forward in a dramatic shift in tone. He yelled, "I said, what's yours?" They all went down the line, weakly, saying their names, trying their best not to scream. "My name's Daydreamer. My name's Bones. My name is Nightmare. And my name is Jay." "Wow," Mask replied. "What stupid names." "Hey, you're not the one who asked. And Mask isn't much of a good name either," Nightmare snapped back. The Mask snapped back harder. "Did I ask you to talk? Use this blood flesh," Mask replied with his eyes bleeding harder and a smile reaching even more impossible lengths. Nightmare retreated back behind his friends. "Now," Max started sounding much more relaxed. You might be wondering why I'm talking to you. Silence was struck in the air for a bit. That was a question. You're supposed to respond, Max said, a bit annoyed. The four of them started nodding their heads in a panic, fearing for the power that this thing had. Thank you, Max responded. The reason I stopped you all is that I am the collector of power. Anything that will get me closer to becoming a god, I seek to obtain. And it just so happens that the four of you are very special in this world. As Max was talking, his grin grew bigger, and his teeth more misaligned. However, Max continued on, I am fair and just, for the most part. So I propose a proposition. If you can escape these woods right behind me before sunrise, I shall not take your hidden powers, and you will receive a wish of almost any measure. However, he continued, fail to even make a foot of the tree line by sunrise. All of your thoughts, memories, talents, and powers I shall absorb and take for myself. So, do we have a deal? Mask extended his hand out for a handshake. The four of them looked at each other with a puzzled look for a second and looked back at Mask. There was an awkward pause before Bone said, No, do you think we're fucking stupid? That's a horrible deal. Come on, let's go. Completely ignoring the hand of the unknown figure, they walked right past it and continued on their way. All of a sudden, a horrible pitch ran through all their heads. They turned around to see Mask walking up to them at an alarmingly fast pace. Oh, that wasn't a yes or no answer, he said. This was me being merciful. All four of them were on the ground trying to stop whatever the increasing pitch was inside their heads. But you know what? Max said, standing all over them. Instead of just ending it here and now, we're still gonna do my challenge, but instead, I'm gonna make it unfathomably amount times harder to escape. With horrors not even the deepest reaches of your mind can make up. As all of them started to black out, they heard a maniacal laugh, the decider of their fates.
Part 1. Daydreamer.
Daydreamer woke up in the middle of a clearing of the woods. God damn it, she swore to herself. This is real, not a dream. She got herself up and checked her phone. 1:50 a.m., she said to herself. And no bars. So I guess calling for help isn't part of the game. She put her phone back in the pockets and took a look around. She started heading off in a direction, deeper and deeper, off into the woods. The woods isn't usually so bad, she thought. Most fear comes from old fairy tales and stuff, along with the fear of the unknown. So long as I stay calm, there should be no need to panic. Her train of thought was cut off by a sound of whispers, loud enough to overpower the other nightly noises. Is there anyone out there? She yells. Silence answers back. She continues on trekking forward. As long as I keep heading in the same direction, I'll eventually make it out of these woods, she thought. This park is only so big. Around a half hour passes, and she starts hearing whispers again, this time louder than the last. Once again, she calls out into the darkness, and again, no response. Now worrying her mind, or Mask, is playing tricks on her, she starts moving faster for the woods. A small amount of time passes yet again, and once again, the whispers come back, even louder. This time, Daydreamer was too frightened to call out, and started running. She could clearly hear the voices this time. They were yelling degenerate insults at her like failure, hopeless, and loser. She turned around, still at a dead sprint, to see if there was anything chasing her. Nothing. Then she ran into a tree and fell to the ground. Or so she thought. Upon looking up, she saw what she really ran into. A corpse hanging from the tree. And the person hanging there looked exactly like her. The corpse's eyes opened and started yelling at her the same insults that the whispers had been telling her. Daydreamer got up as quickly as she could and started sprinting. Hanging doppelgangers hung from every tree she ran by, yelling even more degenerating insults. She tried covering her ears, but the voices just seeped and embedded in her mind, not going away. She ran deeper and deeper into the forest, trying to hold herself back from crying. This isn't real, she thought. It's all a bad hallucination. Her running into the first hanging duplicate of herself proved this wasn't anything her mind was making up. The insults suddenly started trailing off and disappeared. Daydreamer stopped and took a look around. She was at the spot where her and her friends were taken before waking up in the field. Daydreamer escaped.
Part 2. Bones.
Bones awoke abruptly from what seemed like a normal nap for him. He went to go look at his phone to check if it was worth getting up or not, until reality slapped him in the face. He wasn't home in his bed. He was in a tree, still in his costume. After navigating his way down, almost falling a couple times, he took a look around at his surroundings. Dense forest one way, and dense forest the other. Great, he thought. Now what? Bones checked his phone to see if he could pull up a GPS or call someone. However, the phone had no communication anywhere. Odd, said Bones. We shouldn't be too far from the town. If that masked guy said this was the forest we live next to, then it should be dead connection out here. Bones decided to start walking in a random direction. Time moves on. Bones begins to grow tired of walking. So he sits down next to a rock and pulls out his phone again. Still no connection, he says to himself. Oh well, might as well mess around for a bit. Helps relax my mind anyways. Bones ends up sitting there for about a half hour to an hour before heading out again. A short while after, he hears something moving in the distance. Is that you, Mask? He yells out. I have a phone to pick with you. Bones starts giggling to himself about the pun he made. A figure emerges from the tree in front of him. You know, Max said, revealing himself. I was honestly gonna mess with you, give you a good scare, then leave, but after that... Max's body starts convulsing violently. Its body starts growing with inky black substance wrapping around it. Numerous lengthy four-jointed arms sprouted from the mass as it starts to grow 6 times the original size. 2 giant red eyes and the horrific grin, now lined with long, needle-like teeth, sprout from what appears to be the face of this new monster, lying on the ground. But now I'm actually gonna get you for that. Mask finished his sentence after transforming into the new abomination. The monster started giving chase and rapidly pulling itself across the ground towards Bones. Having let fear subside, Bones booked it across the woods, fearing for what might happen if he got caught. The chase goes on for a while. The monster that was once masked seemed to be always at a distance, where it looked like it was going to catch up, but at the same time, just out of the reach of Bones. Just when he thought he could subside the terror for a bit, the trees started making creaking noises and shifting all around him. Bones slowed down a bit to see what was happening. Radio speakers came out of the trees. A horrible shriek came out of the speakers, like someone took a microphone and put it against all of them at once. A voice of someone who sounded like they were out of the 20s came from the speakers and spoke. Tonight's special guests are Flanagan and Allen with their little musical number, Run Rabbit. So gather the young ones around and listen closely. A calm symphony started playing through the speakers, and a song started to play. Bones' heart started pounding harder again. As he turned around and saw Max sprouting tentacles behind its head like hair, and its eyes, now with a look of fire that was red as blood, scorched within its eye sockets. Bones started out for a full-out sprint. This was the fastest he has ever ran, he thought to himself. Mask was giving a faster chase now, nearly a few feet / a meter behind Bones. The music kept playing, except it started to loop the same verse over and over again. Bones looked behind himself one more time. Mask was close enough to see precise facial features, but during his distraction on what was chasing him, he tripped over a rock and twisted his ankle. Bones fell to the ground and cried out in pain. He quickly knew it would be over for him and sat there for a second as he heard the giant hands approach closer to him. Suddenly they stopped. He looked up and there was nothing. The radios and trees were also gone and the music played no more. He let out a sigh of relief and tried to get up, which would be fine if it weren't for the fact his ankle felt like it completely disconnected from his foot. He sat there trying to make it feel better, but nothing worked. He cried out for help. No response. He sat and waited for either help or his foot to feel better, neither of which came before sunrise. Bones did not escape.
Part 3. Nightmare.
Nightmare found himself awoken by a nearby barn owl. He was lying at the base of a tree. Well, fuck, he said out loud to himself. Now what? He looked everywhere. Forest on his left, forest on his right. Cursing again, he walks off aimlessly into the night. Mask doesn't take long to appear in front of Nightmare. Why, hello, young man. Would you like to play a game for your free? Except Nightmare wasn't having any more of Mask's game. He punched Mask square in the face. Ah! Mask screamed in agony, squatting into the ground. That fucking hurt! Well, that's what you get for forcing us to do this shit, Nightmare responded. Why? Mask started to sound trembly. Why would you hate your friends? Mask sprang up and shoved his face in front of Nightmare's. Except to seeing that horrid face, it was Daydreamer with a giant black eye. Nightmare didn't want to believe this, but then the pseudo-Daydreamer spoke in the voice he identified as hers. Why would you do this to me? She began to cry. I fought, Nightmare tried to respond. Then the face changed to Bones, and with his voice said, I guess we're really not friends. Stop playing tricks on me, Nightmare yelled. The face changed once again to Jay. We never loved you, he shouted in his voice approaching closer. The faces started shifting between the three rapidly. We never loved you. It kept saying over and over again, standing up and rapidly approaching Nightmare. You're worthless, vile, nothing good comes from you. Then all three heads of Nightmare's friends exploded out of the neck of what was once Mask and formed into some type of Hydra-like creature and started to give chase. Nightmare ran, and luckily for him, the Hydra thing couldn't fit through the close-together trees. He found a larger tree and hid behind it. The amalgamation of his friends started calling out for him in a tone of voice that Nightmare still heard as his actual friends. Where are you hiding, fucker? The lad of Jay yelled out. Probably too much of a pussy to actually come out, replied the Daydreamer head. They all laughed and continued forward. It's not real, Nightmare said to himself, fighting off tears. Those are not your friends. They would not say this. It's that damn Mask who's doing this to you. You have to win, he said, getting up. Your real friends are counting on you. Nightmare realized that running was not going to work best for him. Stealth was. Sneaking from tree to tree worked out real well for him. Only for an hour. Then he stepped on a pine cone and hurt his foot, causing him to scream. The creature turned around and all three heads gave a horrific grin. There's the weak one of them shouted, charging forward. Okay, Nightmare thought, now running is the best plan. And he booked it over every rock and stump in his path. But the friend Hydra hybrid caught up very quickly. Nightmare felt the breath of all three people breathing down his neck. 1 second, and suddenly, not the next one, it was outside the woods where he had collapsed. Daydreamer was there as well. Nightmare has escaped.
Part 4. Jay.
Jay woke up from his sleep. He was in his room, in his bed. It was still dark out. He checked his phone. 4:30 a.m. God damn it, he thought to himself. Hopefully I can try to go back to sleep. Which he did. The mirage started to fade around Jay as he were still in the forest. Wow, Mask said to himself from a distance. I can't believe that actually worked. So Jay slept there until sunrise. Jay did not escape. Sunrise came, and Nightmare and Daydreamer sat there and stared at each other for a second. Then tears came from both of them, knowing that two of their closest friends did not escape and their fates unknown. Suddenly, a figure fell in the trees. It was Mask. Congratulations, you two! You won! Woohoo! Celebration! Mask threw confetti up in the air. The expressions on both Daydreamer and Nightmare's faces still remained somber. Aw, what's the matter? Mask asked, tongue all tied up, directing it towards Daydreamer. Now, he continued on, no need to be upset about your friends. I made you take all their thoughts, memories, skills, yada yada yada. So you get the point. There's no need to go find their lifeless husks out there. The two of them started to get more flustered. But, Mask continued, I do keep up my end of the bargain. So, you may now have any wish you desire, but make it snappy. I got a couple dimensions I want to visit soon, and I don't want to keep it waiting. Nightmare and Daydreamer looked at each other for a second, and then back at Mask. Give us a second, will you? Daydreamer said. The two talked to each other for a couple minutes as Mask impatiently waited there. Alright, Nightmare said. We know what we're gonna wish for. About time, Mask yelled. I think I was gonna have to wait until the sun exploded to hear the answer from you two. So, what is your wish? Well, Daydreamer said, I wish to have our friends back. Oh, aren't you noble? Mask replied. Fine. Two friends coming up. A white flash blinded the two of them, and suddenly there was Bones and Jay. They were still alive, except they looked lifeless, gray, and unresponsive. Oh my god, what did you do to them? Yelled Daydreamer. Nightmare was still in shock to see the sight of their friends. Well, Mask said, He wanted your friends back, but you never said in what condition. Mask yelled at shrieking laughter, then continued on. So, Nightmare boy, what's your wish? Well, Nightmare said, I was going to be banished you from here forever, but now... He paused. Now I just want Bones and Jay back to the way they were before we met you. Mask paused for a moment, then let out a sigh. Fine. Another bright light occurred and disappeared. Bones and Jay looked no different than they did a few minutes ago. Then color started to slowly reappear on them. They were back to normal. Hugs and tears were exchanged throughout the group. Oh, isn't that lovely? Mask said with much sarcasm. Well, see you losers some other day. A giant wooden door appeared, and as Mask was trying to leave through it, Jay tried to do one last hit of defiance and threw a hammer that was lying on the ground at Mask. Mask caught the hammer. It looked at the group and said, "Oh, maybe I'll visit you sooner." Mask cackled and went for the door and disappeared into thin air. I do hope you enjoyed that thrilling tale that wasn't really that scary. It was more of a, like I said, a passable story by mediocre standards. Ooh. But some behind the scenes stuff. So the story visuals was supposed to have more. For each of the chase scenes, there was supposed to be a special drawing. However, due to time constraints, I really didn't get around to it. I did, however, did a rough draft of one of the sketches for the Bones scene. So here's that. Boop. Yep. I mean, now you kind of know what kind of happened in that scene. I was gonna make it for all of them, but what you gonna do? Actually plan stuff better next time? Anyways, thank you for listening to my story. Bye.